What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I'm still making my way through the Black Mirror episodes one by one. We're going to discuss, do they hold up? Would you do it? Whatever applies to the episodes. So this is Black Mirror, Season 2, Episode 4, White Christmas. Oh yeah, if you're not interested in this one, then yeah, I don't know, you'll never be interested in Black Mirror. So click like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Join me here in my cult following on YouTube. I'm a blind film critic. Some people claim that they go into things blind. I hear that all the time on with other YouTube critics. Like, I went into this film blind. I'm like, oh my God, you were able to like turn it on and off? That's amazing. I literally have to do it every single time, which means I'm using an accessibility feature called audio description, for which this series has on Netflix. So, Black Mirror, White Christmas. Are you dreaming of it? I might be for a long time. I thought White Bear was a pretty interesting and excellent episode. The thing about White Christmas is that each one of these things feels like a short film. I think this is one of the longer short films. I didn't clock the actual runtime of this episode, but I did feel like it broke an hour. So, I wouldn't be surprised. It had a lot to fit in too, though. It was like telling like multiple stories. So if it's like a converging of episodes almost, I immediately recognized Jon Hamm's voice. So Jon Hamm's in this, and the other main actor is Rafe Spall. And they start off with Matt and Bob. I forgot the other guy's name, Paul, something like that. Uh, Pip. For purposes of this review, I might go with Pip. So Matt comes in, and I guess they've been neighbors for a while, sort of out in the middle of nowhere. And as we're presented, I should say, we're in the middle of nowhere, and it's snowing, and it's Christmas time, and Matt kind of enters in with that Jon Hamm confidence that he has in like all of those Jon Hammy type roles. This is very Jon Hamm. This was like, I mean, they've been using a lot of British actors up until this point, but I feel like somebody wrote this and they were like, you know what? We just wrote a Jon Hamm role. Maybe it's time to recruit an American. Let's bring him on in. Uh, so he comes in and he's like, well, I know we haven't really talked, so why don't we talk? It's Christmas. Let's see. So they start sort of opening up, and Matt is telling sort of his story of how he came to be here, which gets really sort of interesting. So we get into a story with Matt that has to do with technology that has, there's like an implant everybody has, and Matt and some other guys hack into this one guy's implant so they can sort of watch and help him essentially score a date. So Matt is like a life coach-ish person who helps this girl, who helps this guy score a girl at a Christmas party. And there's like a team, and they're all sort of giving random feedback, and they call themselves a club later on. But he ends up, being able to like look up somebody's social media profile. So he's feeding this guy information through his ears so that way he can pretend to work at this company he doesn't work at and attend this function. And he knows everybody's name inside the company, and he can bring up when people are like, you don't work here. He's like, yeah, we met at the barbecue at Patricia's house. Remember? You were wearing the pork pie hat. And it's like so specific that you're like, oh my God, how would he possibly know that if he didn't work here? I'm so sorry, I've never noticed you before, you know? So he ends up sort of attracted to this one girl who's very sort of distant at the party, and they end up talking, and the guy that Matt is helping, because he can hear the voices in his head, he ends up sort of talking to himself sometimes, which she clocks, which is not good for him. So she takes him back to her apartment. And so she has been cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and is off her meds and thinks that he is like her. And soon she'll get the voices to stop. So she poisons him. They're not having sex. And Matt's trying to get him to get up out of there and run, but she kind of like forces this poison into him. And so he dies. And Matt like freaks out and he's trying to like delete all the information. And as he's getting up to like go back, we see him at his house. His wife clocks him and is like, what are you doing? What's up? I don't know why he would tell her. I would just be like, I don't know. Couldn't sleep. But then we get into this whole other thing, which has to do with in their world, which is blocking. So we've made blocking a thing where you can block an entire person. So, and as the episode progresses, you learn that blocking actually not only does it block them, like that person, you can't see them, they can't hear you. It's like there's this block between. So they appear as just this sort of like blurry shape thing. And, that way they don't have to deal with whatever it is that you're saying. Unfortunately, there are some other provisions that work with that, which is the fact that it also, the block is transferred down to offspring. And you can leave the block on for as long as you want. And this is the life that everybody has accepted for themselves in this dystopian future. I don't know why anybody would choose this, and I feel like even though I love the episode, I have so many questions. So many questions about this. So it's sort of like matters of convenience when we get through the story. So Matt's story, I'm not even like halfway through the episode, but I want to stop and talk about Matt's thing first. So some of the questions that I would have is, so his wife ends up leaving him. So how do custody battles work? Because he has a kid. She doesn't really have necessarily I don't know, clear and cut, but in general, because there's another situation that's like this, it's like, how do divorces work? How do those kind of things in this world? You can't just block somebody and then take the kids, because then anybody could do that, on either side. It would just completely disrupt the social structure if you could just block your partner and run off with the kids because you blocked them, and the court's just like, well, your spouse blocked you. I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing we can do. The courts are pointless now. It's all about blocking. She blocked us, actually, so we can't even call her in. I don't. So that's I feel like there also would have to be, it doesn't talk about loopholes in terms of blocking. Like, I feel like you wouldn't be able to block police. I was kind of thinking about, like, if this was a series, wouldn't that be cool if the guy ended up becoming a police officer and then she couldn't block? I was thinking like that, if you found a way around it, and you put yourself in a position where the block is ineffectual, where you have to, where it's like, aha, well, you can't block me because legally I'm in an unblockable position because I'm in a position of authority. The tables have turned. There has to be that way in some sort of society. Otherwise, like, every single police situation would just be like, nope, I blocked you. And it affects your memory. So like any memory you have of that person, you can't remember their face. So it becomes problematic for everyone. So Matt's story evolves into, well, that was what I was doing for a hobby. And so he's like, do you want to know what I was doing for a living? And so Matt finally gets to talk about what he did for a living, which shows us this one woman who is going in for some sort of a procedure. We don't know what. And then all of a sudden there's like a lot of like screaming and she's upset. And then Matt ends up talking to an egg, basically. So the egg is what it is in this future. Another thing that you can do is you can have sort of your conscience cloned, or your consciousness, I should say, cloned. So that way a little version of you is running your household, basically, and is doing things like making sure your toast gets cooked perfectly, deciding what time you wake up in the morning, and making sure your refrigerator is stocked and stuff. But it's you, but essentially you've enslaved a version of yourself. So she has this version of herself that runs her house. And we watch how Matt manipulates time to get this thing subjugated. And they give it sort of its code, basically, but they still give it sort of like form and life, but it's like a tiny little body version. So it's like Matt's looking down at it, and it's like a small, tiny little person. So, and they're called cookies. And that, so that's how that works. Anyway, and again, I have a lot of questions, but I thought it was very creative and very inventive, the way that it did everything. And I'm seeing, I have thought, we'll come back around to it. So the third part of the story, this is all one thing, is so Matt finally turns to the guy and he's like, so tell me about your life. And the guy finally opens up about what he remembers, because there's things that are in the house and stuff, and he seems very uneasy and he's a very sort of like quiet person the whole episode. So Rafe Spall turns around and Pip, I don't know what his name is, Paul or something. So his story, he's, living up his life. He's got this fiance, girlfriend, wife, I didn't catch. And they're living together, and after a dinner party one night, which this is the second dinner party, and we've only had 7 episodes of Black Mirror. We got to stop using dinner parties. But they have like a friend over, and so this is sort of like a risk. This is one of the things I was like, I don't know if I love this part of it, because it feels sort of recycled from the entire history of you. So they have this thing, and then he ends up seeing this pregnancy test from his spouse, old person, and it shows that she's pregnant. And he's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And she's like, I don't want it. And he's like, what? Why didn't you talk to me about this? This is exciting. Why, And she's like, but I don't want it. And she's like, and he recognizes that she was getting drunk all night, and that she's pregnant. She knows she's pregnant. So it's like she's trying to kill the baby in sort of a weird and sort of horrifying way, because that's not actually a way to do it. You can just give your child like fetal alcohol syndrome. But by being drunk, it's not like a clear-cut way to ending something. Anyway, I mean, I'm pro-choice. I just don't know that it matters here, but I'm not trying to say like shame women for. I just getting drunk is not the way to do that. They don't. When you go somewhere, they don't go, here's a bottle of vodka, take it home. By the time you're done, you'll be good. So she doesn't like the conversation, so she blocks him and then leaves it blocked and like moves and runs away. And so he's living this life in this weird like hellscape where, she never comes home. She quits her job and like moves away, and he doesn't know how to find her. And so he explains this whole thing. And then one day he ends up running into her again, I guess because only one person has ever blocked him. So he sees this blur, and the blur is pregnant. So he follows the blur, and he kind of keeps checking in on the blur. And the blur, his wife, gets a restraining order on him, so he can't go within a certain distance of. Anyway, I think, again, I have so many questions. So many questions. Like, I love the episode, but oh my god, when you open up this big of a world in this short a period of time with this many rules, I'm like, but why not this? But why not this? But why not this? But what about this? But what about this? So, yeah, so she ends up having the baby. So he sees this baby being raised. He thinks like, well, she decided to keep it, therefore that's my kid. And so it's breaking his heart that he can't. And then we figure out the thing about passing it along genetically to the kid, the block, because he can't see the kid either. But somehow he's able to figure out the kid's a girl, and he's trying to leave it like a little present on Christmas because he knows where his wife's dad lived. So he goes up there and kind of like quietly stalks and then like leaves a present. And then one day, his ex dies in a tragic train accident, and it removes the block because the block came from the parents. So the child is no longer blocked, so he can finally see the child, and he's no longer blocked, and plans on going up and saying hi for the first time ever. And her dad is like way too standoffish and scared given the set of circumstances. Like, I don't know what his daughter told him, but he, like, the only thing that he really did that escalated anything was like he threw a vase, and that was after she blocked him, which I think probably domestic violence probably goes up when you block. I just have a thing, I probably, like, because you're cutting a conversation off like mid sentence, so the likelihood of enraging somebody who's already enraged by enraging them more probably goes up. So I'm like, again, I have so many questions about this world, but I think a vase being thrown is probably the least of anybody's concern at this point. But anyway, he tussles with the grandfather, kills the grandfather. He realizes that the girl is Asian, and he's not Asian, and his wife wasn't Asian. And then he's like, oh shit, but my best friend was. So she realizes that maybe all of this was bullshit. Maybe she just didn't want him, or maybe she didn't. But she was still drinking her ass off that night. So I come back around to, I have so many questions because, again, like, did the dad know that she was trying to originally kill that kid? And how she was going about it recklessly? Like, have we all just absolved? I have so many questions in this episode about the rules of this environment and why we seem to navigate and just step lightly around things, and we're like, let's not, don't talk about that, no, don't bring that up. And it's like, but I see those, I still see it, it's still there. Like, I still want to ask that question. It's still very prominent. I think it's a great idea. I think this episode kicks ass, but I think they conveniently wanted to tell the story they wanted to tell, and they left out a lot of things. So it's just the most confusing episode of the series probably ever, because there's so many little things where it's like, if you ask the right question, suddenly the episode falls apart. And it's like, yeah, it looks pretty, but isn't that just a house of cards you built? It is a house of cards, but isn't it fancy that we built a house of cards? Don't breathe heavily around it, please. So yeah, they built a House of Cards episode. And I don't mean the TV series, I just mean the concept of something that really is kind of wobbly and stands, but it looks cool. It's like, it's a house, yeah, it's amazing. It's like playing Jenga, and you're like, oh my god, is there one brick on the bot? How is it even possible? We're balanced on one of the Jenga bricks on the... Anyway, so And then we find out all of this is fake, and Matt has basically inceptioned his way into this reality. And he's gotten this guy to confess to killing the grandfather, because after the grandfather dies, um, you know, he leaves because he's so, mortified by what he did. But unfortunately, he left the little girl there. So the little girl tried to get help for her grandfather and like wandered outside and died in the snow. So we lost the little girl who wasn't his, but nobody ever told him that because that was just a simple conversation. So I kind of like wonder what is, and then we see that Matt, by the way, at the end of this, that was part of his like penance or whatever, was his ability to do that. And for his previous thing of watching the guy get poisoned, I don't understand how his punishment fits the crime, but then we see that Matt has been blocked by everybody. And to everyone else, he's like a red blur to let them know that he's on like this list. You know, it's a list of like, it's like the bad list. It's like he's not a normal blur. It's like ooh, this guy. Watch out for that guy. There's a red blur. So yes, great ideas are in here. Lots of ideas that need to be explored, probably separately in their own episodes. We had the thing about the little like egg and the little person thing and going in there, and Matt sort of inceptioning his way into getting this guy to do the thing. We had the inside the guy's mind to help him score a date. We have blocking. I mean, we have so many different things we're trying to cover in a short period of time in a sci-fi movie, but it ends up needing to be that people just conveniently don't ever talk about the things that they need to talk about. Like Rafe Spall's character, when he found out that there was a kid that was still out there, why didn't he get legal help? Like, why does he just avoid that? Like, why they don't ever bring up the legal process and blocking. They never bring that up in terms of how do divorces look? What does the legal process look like? Can you sue somebody, get yourself unblocked for purposes of, and also like if it's passed down genetically, they talk about it, but they use it from the female perspective. Does it from the male perspective as well? Like, if the dad blocks the mom, does the mom not be able to see the kid? What is the kid able to see? Because we use a little girl, so we don't really know if the kid can't see the guy either, the blur, how it works on their behalf. Because this could be really like sort of oddly traumatic for children who aren't babies, like who are in the middle of like a contentious divorce, and mom's decided to block dad, but they don't want dad blocked, but they're a minor, so they don't really have a choice. And can kids block their parents? Like who can block who? Is there anybody who's unblockable? There are a whole bunch of things that we don't really ever talk about, and nobody ever seems to talk to anybody like legal action, because that would be the next logical step for Rafe Spall's character would have been, well, she's still pregnant with the kid that's mine. I want, custody. I want like my side of the visitation rights, because I don't think throwing a vase is going to mean that he never gets to see his kid ever again. And he would have found out at that point then that she was cheating on him and it's not his kid. And then the whole thing would be pointless. But because he never thinks to seek legal advice, seriously, I have no idea what's going on in this episode half the time. And it's one of the best episodes, but it's also the most maddening episode. It's so frustrating. I was watching this, I was like, but why? But why not this? Why are you conveniently sidestepping every natural, logical choice that a human being would make? So then I come down to these things with Black Mirror where I'm like, does it still hold up? It holds up in the fact that the kind of technology that it uses, I could see us using it. I could see us using some dumbass feature like this blocking thing. Yeah, absolutely. I could see us figuring out a way how to inception into like somebody's mind. I don't know about the little person like running the house thing. I don't know if we would use, but then again, if you could, I don't know if it's possible, I guess. I think it's just the way that they use it is sort of like personifying it. But if you could scan your code, scan your brain as like code, but then what you don't realize is the horrifying reality that your brain, basically it's like you've uploaded a version of yourself. So then you think that that's you that's trapped in the system, but it's really not you. So I guess, yeah, I can see people doing that and thinking like, oh my God, I want the only person I trust to run my life is me. Okay. And even within that, I have questions because so you have you running you, but every day we do things for ourselves that we know are not necessarily the best thing for us. They're not the healthiest thing for us. They're not really what we should be doing. They're bad for us. It's maybe it's a bad choice or a bad decision or a like we're blurred between the lines on something, So does the little version of us that's been tasked with keeping us like alive and happy then somehow stop that person from making that choice? Do they intervene? Does it clash? So there's like so many interesting ideas within this episode that don't get explored because they didn't think about wanting to explore them. They just were like, we wrote this really great episode. It's a clusterfuck. Let's put it out there. This is Jon Hamm. It's gonna be great. Yeah, so yeah, I think all the technology I could see is using it, but also I think there's just more to it than anything that's presented in this episode. Like when you actually, I don't think it's not as clear cut and dry as this episode claims it is. And then it's like, what I do? No, God, oh my God. So like every single thing in this, I was like, when at first I thought he like legitimately was being hired to consult, and I was like, okay, well that's fine. He is a consultant in some weird future, but then when you see that like he has to hack in to be able to do that, it's like I don't want somebody hacking into my brain. And I'm I'm sighted. I mean I'm blind, so I wouldn't be able to help somebody by seeing what they see. So I guess that's like weird or pointless for me. There's another side to that too, which is like if I hacked into somebody else's brain so that I could help them see by seeing what they see, would then I actually see what they see? That could be fun. So I don't know, maybe I would use it. Um, but I with the blocking, I feel like there's a whole world around that that's set up that's full of questions of like how does this work? When can you use it? When can you not use it? Who can use it on? Who can you not use it on? How does the legal system still work? Who can you block? Who can you not block? I feel like you can't block police because they have to be able to come and get you. Probably also maybe some other people like firemen and fire rescue, but can their spouses block them or not? I feel like there's a whole series here. Do you know what I'm saying? Like of blocking and not blocking, and then finding out that certain people can't be blocked, the unblockables, because of the position that they hold. And that even within their own relationships and stuff like that, because they are who they are, like their spouses have been denied the right to be able to, like, my God, how is this not a spinoff of Black Mirror? Like just their own series of this thing. But yeah, I feel like there's so much that's unexplored that it's actually frustrating. It's actually frustrating because you think about yourself as like putting yourselves in Rafe Spall's shoes or even in Jon Hamm's to some extent. And you're like, would I do that? And I'm like, no, I would never make those choices because I would have immediately been like, where is my lawyer? I mean, at first I would have been like, okay, I'm concerned because my spouse didn't come home. Sorry, I threw the vase, but I should be able to apologize like a normal person. I just, when you block me, it's, first of all, when you tell me this whole huge news story and then block me, it's, sorry, I threw the vase. And then But then when he finds out she's pregnant, he doesn't like go seek legal advice. I feel like that's the step that's missed. Like I feel like that's the step that if you interview like if you have like a focus group of people who watch this episode, they're all gonna be like, yeah, we would have gotten our lawyer. Like I instead of continuing to just stalk or approach or yell at somebody we know can't hear us, that's when you get the law involved because you're like, well, she's keeping it. So presumably that's still mine. So I have some rights to the kid inside. Uh, she doesn't just get to abscond, especially after trying to drink it to death. Um, so yeah. Uh, then he would have found out, by the way, and then like the whole series would have a completely different ending if he just went like a normal route. So for people who are like, oh, you don't deserve rights, it's like, well, if he had gone to the lawyer and had gotten this, and maybe the DNA tested it, and she didn't necessarily even need to unblock him, she could have just been like, told her lawyer and been like, it's not his, you know, DNA. Let's do a DNA test. And then he finds out it's not his, it's somebody else's. Then he can just be mad about the fact that she cheated on him, and then maybe she'll live with some sort of legal repercussions of trying to drink it to death. But I don't know. There's a lot happening in this episode. I was not expecting this because usually it focuses on like one aspect of technology, but this was like a lot in one episode. This is a lot of shit in one episode. So, kind of floored by it. I kind of love it, but also at the same time, I'm very frustrated by it. It's everything. Like it might be the best Black Mirror episode that I've seen because it has definitely stuck with me. And I have so many questions about this world that they think that they've created, this dystopian future. And I want to see it like built out from here. Like this is the one that I'm like, can this be a series? I feel like there's a lot more here. Audio description was fine. I'm sorry I didn't get to talk about it that much. I'm just so intrigued by this way of life because I think there's so much to do with it. It's a great idea, but unfortunately, when you condense it into essentially like a short film, we don't get to ask the heavy questions. And you have a lot of technology and a lot of things here that are different ideas and different concepts. So it's like you're throwing them all together in the same thing, and then we don't really get to fully go into all of them. So White Christmas, this is a higher grade than it deserves, but I'm kind of blown away by the episode. I'm giving it an A-. I can't give it an A because it's problematic as fuck, but I like things that challenge me, make me think. I like things that are different, that engage me for the same reason. Like I don't like to be bored. Like there's some films that are like, well, that was technically perfect, but I was kind of bored by it and I never really want to see it again. White Christmas is like, yeah, I'd watch it again. And I want to get on like a message board that's not just devoted to Black Mirror, but it's devoted just to the world of White Christmas and see people like debunking all these different theories and concepts. Yeah, this is the rabbit hole to jump down and get into and be like, but what if this? But what if this? But what would you do if this happened? But how about this? And there's so much that's left open for you to explore and think about yourself. It's great, but also incredibly maddening at the same time. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.